Well, good afternoon. I'm just going to have really only a couple brief comments, and as will Chuck. We really kind of intend this to be able to have questions asked and answer your questions. So we don't have a lot in the way of kind of prepared statements. But I would just open up by saying that obviously the city of Glendale is really excited to be entering into this partnership with AEG Live or AEG Facilities. Why are we excited about it? When we went through the procurement process, we didn't know what we would flush out in terms of people interested in managing the arena. And we were fortunate that if you looked at probably the top 3 or 4 of the best management firms in the world, 3 of them applied to be our manager. And so one, to have AEG on board, they had to really pass a pretty stiff amount of competition. But we are convinced from the city perspective that they are the best partner that we could have to manage the arena. Real quickly, why is this important to us? First of all, the Gila River Arena is important to the city of Glendale. It was really the catalyst for the entire Westgate investment. And you say, right, what has that done? Well, since Westgate was developed, we've seen almost $500 million of private investment within the footprint of Westgate. And over the next 3 years, we're projecting close to $1 billion of sales activities, of taxable activity in that one area. The arena is crucial to that strategy. And so for us to find the right partner to continue that and to manage that facility, we felt was really important. We have almost 3,000 employees who go to work each and every week in this area. And then finally, for the first time in the city's history, we have an opportunity with having the right partner that we can actually start profiting from a successful season. So we have an arrangement with AEG that after we meet our core expenses and revenues, that we have a way to split those revenues as partners in this venture. So why AEG? Really 3 or 4 areas. First of all, AEG knows arenas and stadiums. They are the largest owner of stadiums and arenas in the world. They are a brick and mortar company. They started with the idea that they're a brick and mortar company. Now, that's important because a lot of management firms, they go in, they manage somebody else's asset. Things get a little bit rough, they can leave town. But when you commit huge amounts of resources to building arenas and stadiums, you're in for the long haul, and you really get forced to take the long view of things. But they know arenas and stadiums really, we think, better than anybody else in the world. They also know hockey. They manage more arenas for the NHL that have NHL franchises than any other management firm in the country. In addition, they obviously have a controlling interest in the LA Kings. So hockey is in their DNA. And it's really important for us because the Coyotes are an important partner in the Gila River Arena in the city of Glendale, and we really feel that AEG is going to be best able to serve them in the franchise in the years to come. They also know concerts. Part of the notion is that while you want to have your core tenant, the real opportunity is how you can drive additional content and entertainment to the arena. AEG through AEG Live is considered one of the top producers of talent and concerts in the country. And in fact, 2 of the most successful years the arena has had in terms of concert took place during a time when AEG had a person in charge of doing the booking. So AEG definitely knows the concert business. And then finally, and maybe most important to a certain degree, AEG understands the fan and the spectator experience. That's really crucial because really one of the exciting parts about Gila River is the fact that it's not about just driving to an event, going in, spending your 2 hours, getting your car, and driving home. That where the market is going is about entertainment. It's about the entire wrapping things around the fan experience, both before and after the core event. Their experience with LA Live, which is really one of the premier entertainment venues really in the United States, they manage and oversee LA Live. And so we think all 4 of those reasons are things for us to be really excited about and really bring a uniqueness to AEG that even the other competitors were very capable firms. these four areas in my mind really stood out as we reviewed the application. But I really want to turn over to Chuck Steedman. He is the president of AEG Facilities, and he has a couple comments as well.
Thank you, Kevin, very much, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to meet with everybody today. This is very exciting for AEG to be partners here. This isn't the first time, as Kevin mentioned, that we've been in the desert working in this arena. We had a very successful period where we were the booking agent for the building and had significant amounts of great shows that came through. So we're not new here. We do understand this market. This is a very competitive market, but it's also an incredibly fertile market. And as I've said before, this is a beautiful arena. It really is fantastically well designed and built. And it really is, it presents itself extremely well from the standpoint of not only the fans, but the users, whether that's the tennis hockey team or whether that's a concert that's going through. I'm talking with all of the concert promoters that bring shows to this area. Everybody's spoken highly of the venue from the start. Always talked about how well maintained it is and how easy it is to bring shows in and out, all the things that matter to a promoter. When they've got a show on a 40-city tour and they're going night to night to night, they want to know how they can get in, how they can get out, how good is the fan base in the area. So this building has presented itself very, very well over the years. A significant portion of that when we were doing the non-tenant booking, and now in a role where we're going to have a larger role in the operation of the venue. We have nothing but respect for the Coyotes organization. As Kevin mentioned, we're fellow NHL owners with the Coyotes. We understand the needs of a hockey team. We understand what's important to a hockey team in the scheduling process. We understand what's important in getting practice ice time and getting day-of-game skates and how to work with them in back-of-the-house areas. And we understand that not only as a venue operator, but as a team owner. The LA Kings have had a lot of success both on and off the ice. And again, if we can provide those types of things to the Coyotes without the Coyotes having to ask for it, again, we're here to do nothing other than support them being successful. And I'm very much looking forward to working with them in that process. So from our perspective, this is a great building. This is a great market. And we're incredibly excited about the opportunity to be here.
Can the venue, questions?
Yeah.
Do you have revenue projections for the venue, both with and without the Coyotes?
We've never looked at a scenario without the Coyotes.
And have you had preliminary discussions with the Coyotes?
Preliminary, yeah. It wouldn't be prudent to have discussions without the city council having ratified our agreement yet. But no, the discussions we've had with the Coyotes have been friendly, forthright, earnest, honest. They've been nothing but great to have conversations with.
Anthony Long said last night that he's not considering glendale as an option.
There's nothing really that I can do to affect that other than provide the best possible service to them as a tenant. That the Coyotes can and will make the decisions that are most important for them. But our job is to do everything we can to support them.
Chuck, can we go back to my original question? What are your projections with and without the Coyotes? Or if you just want with the Coyotes, what are your projections with the Coyotes now?
The music industry and the concert industry and the content industry in general, to use a broader term to define it, but if you look at concerts and family shows and wrap them all into a broader discussion, it's a really cyclical business, and it's also a business that sometimes it's hard to project 6 months in advance rather than 12 months in advance. We honestly think that if this venue goes back to even portions of the shows that were booked here in the past, it'll be successful.
At what point will you consider the arena without the Coyotes?
That's the old, that's a bridge that'll cross when it needs to be crossed. Again, our conversations with Anthony and his senior staff have been nothing but open and honest, and looking for us to try and find ways to support them.
What's the next step after, assuming the contract is approved tonight, what's the next step that you plan to take in wooing the Coyotes to stay?
Well, the conversations, wooing them to stay the conversations that will take place are one of formalizing an agreement with them and discussing. The term of that agreement, I certainly can't answer that. I don't know. Again, a lot of that is going to be dependent upon just the normal course of conversations with them.
Chuck, I can't believe that the most successful concert or venue running organization has no idea what to expect. I mean, I understand it's a cyclical business, but you wouldn't be sitting here today unless you had some comfort.
Sure. That's not something that we typically talk about in a public setting. We're going to have 100% transparency with the city, and so therefore that will make itself evident as we deal with the city. But again, we honestly project that this venue can be successful, both from a fan-facing perspective and also from a financial perspective.
Why the clause in the contract about the out if the Coyotes aren't here?
It's really looking at the scenarios I mentioned a little bit before. We want to do everything we can to make them stay. Sure, there's a clause that says that we can exit, but that's not our intent.
Well, knowing, like you said, if you thought about with only the Coyotes there, aside from that, what else excited you about bidding for the Gila River?
Well, as I said, it's a beautiful building that has a great reputation in the industry. In the industry, I mean the music industry. It's a great size building. It sits in a great market. This is a very active market from a concert perspective. We honestly think that there will be opportunities to grow the amount of shows there on an annual basis. Again, we've been in a position in the past where there have been more shows in the building. And again, it is a cyclical business. You can't make an artist tour that isn't going to tour. Those days are long gone. You just pick up the phone and call an agent and say, hey, do a show. It tends to be why, they go on tour to make money. But at the end of the day, it is an opportunity to take the network of venues that we have and do the very best that we can to make sure that Glendale is an active part of that network. If you just look at the southwest/western part of the United States, you start in Kansas City, really, and work your way over. I know Kansas City's not in the southwest, but from a regional booking perspective, it kind of is. If you look at Kansas City, San Antonio, Denver, Las Vegas, San Diego, Los Angeles, Seattle, those are all markets that AEG has very strong buildings in. So it provides a great opportunity for us to have discussions as a whole with concert tours about that block of venues, if you will. And so, again, the goal with the promoter is to try and make it as easy as possible for a show to be successful. And that's what we try to do, whether that's AEG Live or Live Nation or any other promoter that brings shows to the building.
Long-term goals, is there any discussion or thought about maybe taking over Westgate, doing like an LA Live out here type of thing?
No, that's a privately developed area around the arena. It's a I can tell you that what you have here, so many cities in America wish they had. They wish they had that arena-anchored entertainment district. In this case, arena and stadium-anchored entertainment district. That has been on a pretty decent growth curve. Things have stabilized there, and Jeff Tietzel and the folks at Westgate have done a wonderful job in continuing to develop that block. We've had many conversations with Jeff and his team. Again, nothing other than great, open, honest, what can we do to help type discussions. And they have been, they've been incredibly receptive to, looking at every facet and seeing if there's a way we can help. But I can't tell you how many clients come and visit us in Los Angeles and say, we wish we had this. Well, that takes intelligent planning at the city level. That takes tremendous fortitude in the developer's eyes. It takes people who are in this for the long haul to understand that that concept of an arena-anchored entertainment district is a real one. And it does generate significant revenue, which generates significant tax benefits.
What performance incentives are built into the contract that would allow you to earn more money based on reaching a certain level of income and a certain level of revenue?
You know, the simplicity, if you will, of this agreement is AG and the city's interests are completely aligned. This is an opportunity for using the underlying notion that we're going to provide great service to both fans and also to the people who use the building from a promoter perspective and a tenant perspective. This is a contract that is aligned so that the city is truly a partner in sharing the revenue, sharing the profit. We are incentivized to drive profit to the venue in a way that it does so in a manner that makes sure that the guests are taken care of, make sure that the building is taken care of, make sure that the promoters are taken care of. But the simplicity of the agreement is that AEG's and the city's interests are completely aligned.
But do your payments go up if you generate a certain level of revenue or exceed that?
No.
Is this a standard split, the 25-75 that you have with the city of Glendale?
There's no such thing as a standard deal. I don't know how many venues there are in America and the world, but every one of them has a different deal. Every one of them tries to speak to the market.
And then maybe Michael or Kevin can answer this, but were the negotiations pretty much just fairly easy, so to speak?
I think we're just making sure we were taking our time, covering all of the different elements of it. And so we wanted to, I think both parties wanted to make sure that we understood what we were getting into and what the agreement would say and how we would do with it. But it was still consistent with kind of the major deal points that were part of our procurement process. And maybe just as a clarifier, the 75-25 doesn't kick in until there's actually a different revenue split. And I think it's important to say that because the reality of it is once we get beyond the base management fee, the first $500,000 of profit essentially goes to our partner, but we get the next full $500,000, and that gets split up until we get to $1.5 million. Then you get into a 75-25. So we just think that's we want to give them continual incentive. Again, the arena is designed to be a catalyst, and so we know that while we may be if we're in a 75-25 split, that means the level of activity taking place at the arena is significantly higher than it's ever been, which means that our retail sales, our overnight stay sales, all of the kind of activation transactions are going to be also through the roof, which the city benefits from. So we have other ways we can really kind of regroup that. So we felt having a contract that gave them a lot of incentive to get to the 75-25 split, we were going to more than benefit as the city and for our taxpayers with the kind of ancillary kinds of revenues that the city uniquely gets to collect.
How soon can you move the coyotes out, and have you talked to them about the transition process?
How soon to move them out?
To move them out of their management position.
Oh, okay.
That's an example.
So AG is working on a transition plan. Maybe something you want to talk about that.
Sure. I mean, we would anticipate that happening in July.
You know, it goes strictly 90 days after presumably it gets signed tonight or tomorrow.
There's a requirement in our existing contract with the Coyotes is to give them 90-day notification. And I'll let Chuck speak to this specifically, but I believe they've had very positive conversations regarding the transition timeline with the Coyotes. And it sounds like that the Coyotes are minimal to doing it during our budget year transition. It starts on July 1st. So even though it's less than the 90-day notification, it seems like they are open, and I understand, to that transition timeline.
Yeah, I mean, they're open to discussing it, and that's fine with us. I mean, again, we've been through a lot of transitions, and there is no cookie-cutter approach. There is no standard approach. It's just a matter of what works best for the Coyotes, what works best for the city, what works best for the existing employee base that's there. the 40 or so employees that actually operate the building day to day. We want to make sure that everybody, we'd rather do it right than fast at the end of the day. That's the most important thing. I've had the opportunity to be on both sides of the transition, both as an exiting side of it and as an entry side of it. And again, you have to take care of the people that work there. You have to take care of the people who are the tenants there. You have to make sure that there's a clear transition in the mind of the marketplace, meaning the promoters. And again, the great news is that the Coyotes and the team that are running the building right now, throughout the discussions we've had with the city, have been nothing other than helpful and assistive in the process.
What will your full-time staff be like now?
At the end of the day, in the 40 or so, 40 plus people full-time. We have to, there's an existing structure that's there right now that we're certainly respectful and mindful of. There's a structure that will have to be a little bit different because the team, through its management agreement, provided certain functions that aren't part of the operations staff of the building right now. So those are the conversations that we'll have with the Coyotes right now about should there be shared services going forward, some of the administrative functions, whether that's IT, accounting, human resources. At the end of the day, it's whatever is best for the venue and the staff that work there.
What is it about the building that the industry likes and that you like, aesthetics?
Sure. Sometimes when you live in a market, it's hard to see something that's there all the time is beautiful. But I come from a different market, and the first time I came to the venue, I thought, wow, this is a really attractive place. It's attractive aesthetically. It's from a concert promoter's perspective. The concert promoters look at how well can their fans be served, how well can their artists be taken care of backstage, what's the ease of getting in and out. The great news is this building checks all of those boxes. And then there's also an important part of it is how's the building structured so that promoters have an opportunity for the artists to generate revenue. This building has a great physical structure for that. It has a big number of lower bowl seats compared to the upper bowl seats. It has a great ratio for that. That a lot of venues in the country, frankly, don't have. So it presents itself well to the music industry and the family show industry for the promoter's ability to generate revenue and profit from the show. That's important.
Have you guys identified any needed improvements, whether small or large, for the arena?
We frankly haven't.
No.
That's part of the process that's in our contract that will lay out our opportunity to go in and take a look at things and make recommendations to the city and go through a process with them on that.
But they haven't done that yet?
No, we've not. Again, the contract isn't ratified yet. There's tremendous importance to being respectful of a process, and we've tried to do that every step of the way.
Did you ever explore trying to maybe get the Arizona Raptors to come out and play in Glendale?
There's a saying that in the financial world they say that cash is king, and it is in the financial world. There's also a saying in the venue industry that all the things that go to make up that broader definition of content are king, because that's what generates everything that the venue needs, that the Westgate Entertainment District needs, and that generally speaking Glendale and the Valley needs. So I wouldn't rule anything in or out as a possibility. We're not going to go steal something from somebody. That's not what we do. If there's a legitimate opportunity for other tenant teams to play there, so we'll take a look at it. But we're not in the business of stealing stuff from other places. We'll compete heavily when it comes to trying to get the best shows, but we're not into moving things around for the sake of moving them around. When you talk about franchises moving, there's a whole lot of things that go into that. More than just saying, come and play in my building. A lot of stuff goes into that. Is it in the best interest of the fans to do that? Who knows?
If the Coyotes are successful in getting another arena, are there enough shows to fill the new arena, the existing Suns arena, and the Glendale arena?
I can't think of too many markets that have that many competitive buildings. New York is one, with the Prudential Center, Madison Square Garden, and Barclays, all within a certain area, but each one of them actually plays to a certain part of the market. This is a crowded and competitive market from a venue perspective, not just in the covered arenas, but in the other venues that are in town, from amphitheaters and theaters and so on and so forth. That would make a competitive market and crowded market even more crowded. Can every one of them survive? Sure, but the good news is there's in that cyclicalness of the music industry, there are no shortage of bands that are touring. What it'll do is it'll just make it a much more competitive market. But anything's possible.
Do you think the Coyotes might be more agreeable working with AEG maybe compared to what the relationship has been with the city?
Hard for me to answer that. That's before my time. I don't know. I can tell you that the conversations we've had have been they've been very productive and very friendly and open and honest. I haven't seen anything that would indicate anything otherwise. Anthony and the team there have been great to deal with, and I'm looking forward to doing it now officially.
How quickly after it is approved, how quickly will you guys sit down or call them and say, let's talk about it?
Very quickly. Very quickly. Sure. I want to hear from them what are things that are important to them, and then figure out how we can use that for them.
What would be a reasonable lease arrangement for an NHL team in a city-owned arena?
There are
39 to choose from.
32 teams in the league, 30 teams in the league, and every one of them is different. I wish I could tell you there's a cookie cutter, but there isn't. There just isn't. Every single one of them is different and driven by different economics, different needs. There's no deal that you can parachute in over the top that says, oh, this worked in Los Angeles, it should work in Glendale, or it works in Boston, it should work in Columbus. So honestly, it's a different set of circumstances behind every deal. They all have the same kinds of elements to them. What revenue goes where, what expenses go where. But at the end of the day, again, that's market specific, honestly.
Right. What's the typical one?
There is no typical deal. There really isn't. I'm not trying to be disingenuous here. There isn't a typical deal.
No, you won't be disingenuous.
Fine. I would hope not. No, there's no typical deal. If the NHL made public the venue deals across all the venues, like I said, you would find some elements that are similar elements, but every single one is different. There are municipal-owned buildings, there are privately owned buildings, there are team-owned buildings, there are team-controlled buildings financed by cities. As many teams as there are different deals. The important thing is that we'll sit down with the Coyotes and talk about what's important here and what works for here, what doesn't work for here, in conjunction with the city.
I think it's noteworthy that of the 30 NHL teams, the greater metropolitan area here in Phoenix is 11th in size. The attendance is running right now 29th. So part of this is while we can focus on the arena, at the end, I believe it's overall it's a general support level that needs to be generated by the 4.4 million people that live here in the valley. And at the end of the day, there's kind of two parts to this element. I believe that our fan base and our corporate supporters need to support the NHL hockey, and that really, regardless of where they're at, if they don't do that, we're going to likely have an unsuccessful venue or a franchise. And then, of course, obviously tied to that is, and I've had conversations with Anthony LeBlanc. They recognize they need to put a better quality product on the ice, and I know they're working to do that, and I believe they're committed to doing that. But they go hand in hand. And so while we may want to focus on the arena as being the solution, at the end of the day, this metropolitan area needs to do a better job of supporting, and there's a history of that. If your community doesn't support the team, they likely will move. Having come from Seattle, where we did lose the Seattle Sonics, and where we came close to losing the Seattle Seahawks one time and to the Seattle Mariners, at the end of the day, what saved the Mariners and the Seahawks from really leaving, for those who were there was the corporate and fan base stepped up to better support the teams. And so we're committed. I know there's a lot of discussion about how long, are the Coyotes going to be here. We're not focused on that. What we're going to focus on for the next year, we're going to do what we can as a city, as a community, to better support the franchise. And hopefully we'll get more years to be able to do that. And we believe, and our team believes firmly, that with the partnership with AEG, that if we can make the business model work better for the Coyotes, there'll be less and less discussion about the arena. It'd be one thing if we were in an outdated arena. But for those who go around, one thing they haven't talked about is the sightlines for hockey. But the arena has some of the best sightlines for hockey. It's a great hockey venue. It's not like we're in an old facility that has kind of reached the end of its shelf life. So we believe the problem primarily is a financial issue for the franchise. We recognize that as a city, and we're going to do our part to try to help generate the type of support that we think that the greater Phoenix area needs to step up and do. Just like it's important to support the Arizona Cardinals, it's important to support the Phoenix Suns, and of course the Diamondbacks.
How do you do that as a city? How do you better support the franchise?
Well, I think, I know what, there's a number of steps I think you could do. I will say that I've already started talking with our local chamber and going to reach out to key stakeholders here in the general greater metropolitan area to see what can we do really to step up to what level can they help support this. I think it's having four major franchises in the city makes us really a top-tier city in the country. And with that is responsibility to support them. And so I think we're going to look for opportunities for how we can better engage with the business community. And I don't want to say challenge, because I think we've had a lot of good corporate support, but whether really can we take it to the next level of support?
Chuck said there was no cookie-cutter approach on some of the things that you talked about. Is there no cookie-cutter approach to what you just talked about, engaging the business community? You were involved in that in Seattle in some way.
Yeah, it was somewhat organic, but I mean, at the end of the day, what worked in Seattle was some of our really large civic leaders. They weren't necessarily elected leaders, but they were our civic leaders, understood the importance of keeping the Seattle Mariners and the Seattle Seahawks, there. And they helped drive. In that case, they had bad facilities. And so their role was really to help drive referendums to try to build new arenas. But they also stepped up on the front end with corporate support for suites and for corporate sales, et cetera. I would like to hope that our civic leaders within the Valley would see a similar type of responsibility and see what we can do to engage them on this issue.
In your discussions with Anthony Blanc or anybody from the Coyotes, have they made any requests of what they would like the city to do on that side of it?
Really, my discussions with Anthony wanted to find out what their issues are, and again, I think those have been fairly well documented. But really, I've tried to focus on what we'll do next year. I can't control 2 years from now. What we can control is we know they're going to play hockey in the arena next year, and so when we went to our selection, we felt, AEG, at the end of the day, I think was selected by the team. There's a number of people who were on the interview panel because we felt they could best assist the Coyotes to be successful. Their resources are incredibly deep. While they may have 40-plus staff here located, permanently, they have an entire network of resources that they can help out. During the presentation, they talked a lot about just the way they activate their social marketing and how they approach things on corporate sales and partnerships. They will bring that talent and that expertise to the table, and they've offered already to reach out to the Coyotes. So again, we've been really modeling our future relationship with the Coyotes, that unless we fix the financial model, unless we can get fan base and average season attendance to get to be even near the size of market we are, that no matter where you put this team, if we don't get better support, then that's going to happen. Now, I know some people have said that the west side is a little bit longer drive for some people. Now, maybe I'm a little bit jaded. I came from Seattle, which is not known for great traffic, but I will tell you, it's not uncommon to drive an hour and a half to go from where I lived, which was 22 miles to the south of Seattle, to go to a game, to go to a Mariner game. I mean, fans do that. I mean, they do it for the Cardinals. They've never had an empty seat in the University of Phoenix Stadium. So I think that's a little bit of in my mind, just a little bit of a red herring. I don't think you go across the street in Los Angeles in 45 minutes. And yet I've heard that oftentimes the reason why the Coyotes aren't drawing better because during the week it takes 45 minutes to an hour to get here. Again, I believe there's other factors that are there. We need to address those factors. And I think this has resonated with the Coyotes because, again, at the end of the day, I don't think they have a desire just to move for the sake of moving. I think they're trying to fix this model so they can satisfy the investors that own that team. I respect that decision, as Chuck said. At the end of the day, if they get a better deal that helps that franchise, well, I may not be happy. We'll support that. But our focus is not going to be on the what ifs. Our focus is going to be on what can we do in the next coming year to really solidify this franchise in Glendale.
You mentioned that one of the Coyotes' problems is they don't have a very good team right now. But you said the city can help get corporate suite sales. Am I reading you correctly there?
Well, I think corporate support comes in a number of ways. It could be just by season ticket sales. It could be by group outings. It could be all the way up to advertising. It could be also suite sales. And I didn't say they have a bad team. I say they know they have to put a better product on the ice.
The team, not a bad team.
Well, I think I think certainly their desire to be in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They haven't reached that goal for several years. On the other end of it, I think that those who have followed the team closely, they made significant progress this year. We have a lot of young talent that really has gelled together quite well. I think the Coyotes would say they're probably a year ahead of their schedule on their rebuilding plan. But yeah, no, I think the fan base, it could be what can we do? A large corporation maybe could purchase a suite. Maybe a smaller company, maybe it's just committing to 2 season tickets. But at the end of the day, if they were only in the mid-range of attendance for the NHL, they would be averaging about 3,000 more fans per game. And that really equates to fairly significant change in your revenue. Because with that comes obviously ticket sales, becomes parking, becomes merchandising, becomes concessions. So I think that's our focus now is how do we re-engage the fan base to have a higher level of support.
How do you sell if the team needs to improve its product on the ice? How do you sell to a business owner or a corporation that doesn't follow hockey day to day and know that the team is rebuilding? How do you convince them to buy a corporate suite or to buy season tickets?
Obviously we have AEG to help, help with that answer. But, when, again, I hate to go back to my previous experience, but when, the Seattle Mariners, when they got their new stadium, Safeco Field, they weren't coming off a World Series win. They actually had they were coming off a dismal year. So a lot of it was recognizing the overall importance of the franchise being in the community. That NHL hockey is a great sport. It's a primetime sport. That's covered in almost every major market. And you start first with the belief that NHL hockey needs to be in a city of this size. And then you work with the product to get it better. But, you go to your great cities, they support their franchises, regardless if they won the championship the prior year or whether they finished dead last. Now, if you finish dead last too many years in a row, that certainly becomes a challenge. But ultimately, we want to get to the point to where the ebbs and flows of the competitiveness of the team don't drive the response to the fans.
How many people, how many hours are you willing to dedicate to municipal employees helping the Coyotes sell the commercial product?
I haven't put a plan. Again, what works best in my experience has been when key stakeholders understood the value to it, and at the end of the day, I'm new to this region. I don't pick up many phones and get people to answer my call. But when civic leaders, pick up the phone and call, in Seattle, they were really able to energize and to make things happen. So hopefully we can find a way to get the interest of our core corporate teams that are here in the Valley and hopefully move forward. I don't want to make it sound like this is going to be an easy task, but from just a basic what is the problem here, I firmly believe it's not an arena problem. It's a revenue problem, and we need to address the issue of what we can do as a partnership. A sports franchise is in partnerships with the community. I mean, it's very uniquely done that way. Having come from the Seattle area, I will tell you that while we have Starbucks, while we have Microsoft, while we have the Boeing Company, and while we have Amazon, all four companies I know you all know in this room, that the most powerful relationship in the entire state of Washington is with the Seattle Seahawks. It's uniquely positioned to do that. And so to me, I think we just have to figure out a way to really kind of create that value proposition for our citizens and our fans and our corporate supporters here in the Valley to understand that all four of our franchises are important to have here, and that at the end of the day, when there's high levels of success, as we saw 2 years ago when over 1 million people turned out to celebrate the Seahawks when they won the Super Bowl, that those are unique opportunities to create community, and they really give you a sense of community. And again, I think we can get there. It's a great sport that has a long history with it, and we just have to create that legacy here in the Valley.
Does the team have to be involved in some of this outreach?
Yes, absolutely. And I believe there's no doubt we would do this without working closely with both AEG and with the management.
Well, won't that be kind of difficult though if the Coyotes are, as we've heard, thinking about going to another city?
I could be wrong on this, but I'm going to guess that if we focus on our next season, because the Coyotes recognize they're going to be here next season, that there won't be a lot of opposition to trying to increase their fan support and their fan base for next year, and then we'll deal with the next season, when that time rolls around.
So how many man hours are you willing to devote toward helping the Coyotes?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it that terms, Paul. So I don't know. Obviously, I'm not going to stop. We have a lot of important things we do here in the city of Glendale, but I believe we all have a little bit of extra capacity in our workday to get things done, and certainly I'll try to carve some time out each week to try to be moving that ball forward.
Just you, or you can get other people involved in that as well?
What I'd like to do is really extend outward from the organization. I think it'd be inappropriate per se to have my employees to instruct them to do something that they're not their jobs to do. One thing that I've always marveled at this area, and I happen to have a couple of my friends who have retired here who were former CEOs of billion-dollar-plus companies. We have a great network of retired executives who operate at a very, very high level. And I've already engaged with a couple of some close friends of mine that to see how would they react to perhaps taking some of their retired time, maybe reducing their golf game by a round or two a month to see whether they can get engaged. And I think there's a whole resource we've not yet tapped in those kinds of areas, both from an economic development standpoint for the region and obviously in this case with the Coyotes.
Right, if there's no further questions, I think Kevin and Chuck will be available to do some one-on-ones if you want. Otherwise, we'll wrap up the press briefing. Thanks for your time. Steve.